Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. Always appreciate the live listeners as well as the listeners in the replay. Just have had an explosion over the period of time that people have been able to sit in their houses a lot more through the pandemic, and just appreciate all the new listeners. Always appreciate all the old listeners that have been listening for years to the vault. Shout out to you all. Thank you all for listening. But really, this is for you all. We get a bunch of people that contact us through consultation. So at this point, it's just like we've always done, rather important to always give those people the opportunity to grow and know, even outside of the actual vault. So people may not be in it in trustee training, but it is something that people ask those questions, and we get repeated questions. And after we get repeated questions, it's just time to address it because it's not like a one person deal. It's not a specific situation for one person. This is episode 218, 218. I copyrighted my name now. What? Just a very important episode. Appreciate we got a listener listening from New York live. Always appreciate you all. You all can feel free to type into the chat where you're listening from. It's always good to know what's going on in the country, and clearly we know what's going on up north in New York right now. Just still a lot of people are they're looking for alternative ways. They're looking for alternative education. Otherwise, they're listening to big media, traditional media, and so we always want to just share our perspective because we sit in a room with any asset manager that's managing, $1 million, hundreds of $1 million, billions of dollars. We sit in those rooms, we have those conversations, and so we do our best to not just, talk about the bad times and the doom and gloom, but we do our best to talk about what's real time, where investors are putting capital right now. There is a wealth transfer that has already started happening. We called it on the vault literally at the end of 2019, December. Cornell, the trader, in the vault. We did an episode, and we just already knew because any market that's at all-time highs has some level of correction, has some level of rebound, and so literally we saw it go all the way. We didn't do an episode the first part of this year up until about March. The market took its turn right after what is that, Father's Day? No, what is that, Fourth of July? Fourth of July? No, the February holiday. What's the February? Valentine's Day. We saw the market drop Valentine's Day right after that, and just continuously said, hey, look, the market has already called for its correction. We saw a bunch of CEOs step down in the public in February and March, and we're here in the recovery phase, as people would like to think. So we're going to talk about this recovery phase today, with even a little bit of current events and news, because we get a ton of people that are saying, we have some people type into the chat past episode recently say, hey, that there's a shortage on coins in the country, in the states at least, where they have signs, and most Fortune 500s. Literally went into an Office Depot earlier today, and a sign was sitting there very conveniently. There is a coin shortage nationally, and if you don't have exact change or card, we won't be able to help you out. And so this is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because we talked about a run being on the bank, and we talked about this in April and March because of when you see long lines at the bank for the banks not being open. But clearly, it's already started. We called it once again. When you're in tune with the marketplace, you know what's going to happen. So it wasn't necessarily a run on the bank yet, because the market is being thwarted right now, being suffocated, being headlocked. And so we see not only there's a run on coins, this is a run on the bank. We're going to let it play out for you all. You heard it on the vault, and this is what we do at the vault. We talk about what is really going on in the marketplace. The questions that we get. We had someone from California bring it to our attention at the vault. Contact us and hey, there's a run on coins right now. They're not accepting anything except for exact change in the country. People say, oh, well, how does your episode, the cashless society, hold up? It still holds up, ladies and gentlemen. You still can have paper. You can put paper in the bank. You can take paper out the bank. Still very relevant. But exact change is still something that we're seeing put into the marketplace. Ladies and gentlemen, people say, oh, we want it to go back to normal. Do you see what the new normal is starting to look like? It's not going back to the old normal, ladies and gentlemen. We're seeing what the new normal is. So we're going to continue with our series of just tons of episodes. 2008, well, actually 218. I copyrighted my name now. What this episode is for people that contact the vault that talk about all the time. They've copyrighted their name. They copyrighted the birth certificate. They done all these good things. They got the birth certificate authenticated. You know, we would say whippity do, but it's not even worth the whippity do. It's a thing that we hear people say, oh, you authenticate the birth certificate. And what does this do? Is this your freedom ticket? Oh, we're validating that, this is a legitimate document. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no worries. That paper is watermarked. The paper is watermarked. But for all the ones that did authenticate it, it just shows a higher level of authenticity outside of the original watermark stamp and seal. So let's move forward with I've copyrighted my name, now what? Ladies and gentlemen, we get this question all the time. So we're going to go deeper into the subject matter because people say you copyrighted your name, but what happened after that, ladies and gentlemen? We get a ton of people that literally say, oh, we put a lien on our name. So that means that you put a debt on your name. Is that not true? You put a debt encumbrance upon your name. Not only did someone put a debt encumbrance upon their name, which, ladies and gentlemen, if you never pay back the debt, it doesn't look good to the credit reporting agencies. See, people don't think that the UCC is something that those agencies can pull information from. Well, if you have a huge debt on your name and you're not paying it back, you're not showing it and reporting it in the UCC that the debt is being paid down, where is evidence of a quality debt obligation in place? Not only is the debt obligation obligation, people aren't paying it back. So how does that look good for the credit reporting agencies or any agency that can go and specifically look at that information? So let's move deeper into, you put a lien on the name. You put a debt encumbrance upon the name. The families or the individuals that contact us, they didn't even start paying it to show that it has a good reporting history. We don't want it to report. We want a discharge and set off. This is the angle that they're going from. So ladies and gentlemen, how does the name have any value? Oh, people are going to say that their name has value. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many people that their name is not worth anything. Sorry to tell you all, just because you were born, you are not entitled to anything. People aren't even entitled to clean air anymore because the air is not clean. People are in an environment where they're dealing with global warming supposedly and the air's not clean. Let's go to the water. The city that you live in, are you paying for clean water straight out of the faucet? But somehow people think their name has been stolen from them. Not only has it supposedly been stolen, they feel that it has some type of arbitrary value that they can attach to it on a document that they state wasn't created by them, but they're claiming it. So they're claiming a debt instrument. People want to claim these names. They want to claim a debt instrument. So the instrument now is a bond. Okay? We start getting into these financial terms that many people really don't talk about because they don't want to state that it's a security. They don't want to state that it's a derivative. And then people have arbitrary, some type of, we have to word this because it gets fancy, ladies and gentlemen. Most people that contact the vault, they ask us about the copyrighted on the name, the lien on the name, the UCC. Ladies and gentlemen, did you put a debt on your name? How is that profitable? Well, people say, oh, well, we're supposed to be able to discharge and offset. They say that they can do this. But the guys that touted this over the internet, where are they at, ladies and gentlemen? How come these guys aren't in the public? Because it's a private remedy. That's what we get now. We get people contacting the phone and say, well, the remedy's in the private. Ladies and gentlemen, is that not a public instrument? So which one is it? Is it a public bond or a private bond? Well, it's a private bond, and then we took it into the public. Okay. And then when you took it into public, what happened? Did you get it elected to be a security that can be bought? Someone can actually purchase your debt. You can purchase debt, ladies and gentlemen. You can actually purchase debt. That's what credit collection agencies do. They purchase debt, supposedly as a third party. But then we got away from this argument of There, what they say, there is no money. We're not going to talk about that tonight. You all can go listen to the episode about there being no money. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're living off of no money, we can say a whippity do and a wow to that, because that's incredible. We have never ran into anyone that has not had money in their hand, has never touched it, whether it's gold and silver, whether it's hard tangible property. People have gotten fooled by these gurus over the internet that state themselves as, oh, you can just discharge the debt. It's available. So they end up swindling you out of $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, ladies and gentlemen. We've heard as high as $30,000 to do the UCC process. Everybody on the line that's familiar with that process, they won't all agree and say, hey, we kicked out 30,000 and we got ours done. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? People under 30 years old are participating, and these gurus over the internet charging $30,000 to do a UCC packet, to so-called give people their freedom papers so they can't be bothered by the so-called powers that be. Really? So what happens when you write a rubber basketball check? What happens when a trustee, what happens when you, the fiduciary of the so-called Sesticate Trust, or this so-called name that you have control over now as the trustee, or you're in control over now as the manager, did you write those bad checks? Did you say there was no such thing as money, so you just started charging the entity? Oh, okay. Not only that, are people utilizing the Federal Reserve System, which the so-called people that say there is no money, they know that the Federal Reserve is not the government. They know that it's a third-party entity, or at least they would like to think that when they talk about HJR. See, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard it all before. It's a joke. That information is for poor people to stay poor. There's nothing about that message that there is no money promotes growth. So let's get back to the copyright in my name. How is copyrighting the name any value to the name? Ladies and gentlemen, we just did an episode the other day about contract makes the law. Okay, so the copyright is between two parties, because someone has to own the right to a name. They have to own a trademark. Okay, remember, you're at the vault. This is own nothing, control everything. So why would you own the name? Did the gurus and the fool rules tell you that? So hold on, let's go there again. The gurus said you're supposed to own your name. You're supposed to copyright your name. At the vault, we say own nothing, control everything. So why would you own your name? See, this is poor people's mentality of you're owning your name. Ladies and gentlemen, a family last name owns your first name. Oh, did they say that? Hold on. The family trust, the family estate owns the first name. It owns the name overall. So we get these people inquiring all the time. Well, we did the copyright. We did the UCC. And someone set up this trust for me. Okay. So are you the grantor? Is the family estate the grantor first? Or is it you? So hold on. The guru, the guy that was going to do my paperwork, what did he do? Hold on. Am I the grantor? So I'm the grantor of the contract. That means I'm liable, right? No. It was irrevocable. So you went into a contract that says you were irrevocable. Who's in control still? Who's in control? You are. Because people didn't give up the liability. Why? Because they didn't give up control. They didn't even give up ownership. Sometimes people come forward to the vault. They say, I don't know if I'm in an irrevocable or revocable situation. Not only that, most people don't know if they're in a position of grantorship or if they're in a position of control, trusteeship. See, these are the topics that we get this thinking correct in the vault, in trustee training. Why? Because it's all about management of the contract. Ladies and gentlemen, if you own it, you're liable. Clearly, ownership incurs liability. So what are you supposed to do as the owner now? Oh, they say, oh, we're supposed to discharge it. Really? How are you doing that in the grantor position? If you created it, why would you be engaging in that system in the first place? But this comes from stinking thinking. This comes from somebody wanting a hero, somebody wanting a leader. They want to click follow. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? When you say you want to go private, there is no followership. It's the head of the estate. Are you the senior trustee of your family estate? Or are you in a position of you don't know? Position of we don't know if we're beneficiaries or we're trustees. You get people contacting the vault say, well, I don't know. Am I the beneficiary or the trustee? I think I'm both. Well, we know in the vault, ownership incurs liability. Beneficiaries, and traditionally on the public side, they try to say the owner is the beneficiary. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is called what you're not supposed to do. If you're listening to the gurus that say public and private don't mix, they don't. Public and private don't mix. So when you're in a system, involved in a system with the gurus, talking about, oh, you can own nothing, control everything, but you're in a system where you're the grantor, you're the trustee, you're the beneficiary. No, no, no. It doesn't work that way. Ownership incurs liability. All of the trustees know that. But we're going to go ahead and drop a major bomb because when you put the UCC up, all it is numbers on the paper. What evidence do you have from an arbitrary third party appraisal person? See, when you're in some type of value, there's an appraisal on the property. The gurus didn't say that. Oh, you just got a birth certificate and you assigned a value to it. Man, my birth certificate is worth $100 quadrillion. Really? So it's worth $100 quadrillion. Where's the money at? Who's holding the money? Well, it's only for discharge. Okay, so that means it's only for debt. So people think their whole lifestyle now is going to be what? Living off of debt? Ladies and gentlemen, we don't live in that. We live in a credit system. Oh, did we forget about that? Hold on. We live in a credit system? Yes, we live in a credit and debt system. So we get these guys, we're going to tell you how far it goes because it gets deep. They say, oh, well, I'm going to create the debt and then I'm going to discharge the debt because that's what I'm supposed to do as the trustee of the public trust. We heard this message before, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, really? You were supposed to discharge the debt because there was a debt obligation that you created, not the states, you. How did you create it? How did you create it without any credit extension? Debts are only given if there's a credit extension. Ladies and gentlemen, the same principles that are looking to be practiced on the public side with the UCC are being dealt with in the private through private contracts. There's no difference. Except for public has rules, regulations. We deal with more statutory limitations and things of that nature. But people say they copyrighted their name. It's own nothing, control everything. Go back to your gurus and say, who's the grantor of the trust? Go back to your gurus and say, well, guess what? If I copyrighted my name, doesn't that mean I own it? Of course you do. So then that means you're not liable for it. Oh, yes, it does. You're liable for it. You're liable for the debts and the credits now. The credits that are extended to it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard this message before. It's not proper. It's information that's called disinformation and misinformation. It's to give somebody a false hope that they can get off scotch-free and have some type of entitlement. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it again. $30,000, $20,000, $10,000 people are paying to go through some UCC remedy packet to own their name. But I thought you wasn't supposed to own it. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. That's all we've ever talked about. It's not to say that the family can't own it. But what happened though? The gurus put you in a position where you own it now. So how do you change that position? Well, clearly you can contact the vault for a consultation, or you can go back to the gurus and say, hey, look, how do we amend this? We were ready to call them goofballs, but they want to be called a guru. How do you amend it? How does the family take over the name instead of you? Because if you own it, you're liable. Hold on, the family's supposed to own it? The gurus didn't say that. They told me to spell my name funny with the last name first, with the semicolon, with the what else do they say? You put a comma, you put all of these different these bad grammar situations to the situation. Right. If you all did the UCC and did the copyright situation, this is your free consultation. Feel free to type into the chat. We're willing to answer the questions, the things that the goofball gurus don't want to answer in the public because they tell you it's a private process. How? It's a public document. Then they say, oh, you're just putting people on notice. Putting them on notice about what? That you own it? That you literally now are fully liable? You allowed the third party, the arbitrary third party, off the hook? Oh, okay. Sure. Appreciate Orlando for tuning in live, listening to replay. If you want to share with where you're listening in from, we always appreciate that. Let us know where the audience is tuning in live. We got the UCC. The UCC are actually not scams, and we want to always make that clear. A lot of the package that these guys are selling online, these gurus, they're selling the scams. And we're going to tell you all that because we don't deal with the UCC package. Ladies and gentlemen, you can go to the law library and see how to put the whole UCC packet together. And then when you even go to the websites for these contracts, they give you the template online. They need the name of the creditor, address, telephone number. They need the name of the debtor, credit, telephone, address number. Sometimes they might want the number if it's an EIN, if it's a business in place. Sometimes they box those numbers out. They want to know the description of property. They want to know who and what the situation is when it comes to the debt. But these contracts supposedly were set up for the discharge and set off. The vaults never advertised that baloney. Oh, you're going to be able to get rid of a debt. Ladies and gentlemen, are you a bank? Are you practicing private family banking? Are you extending credit off of the so-called copyright? To who? Well, here we go. Let's go. It gets deeper. And we're not going to go too harsh on the words tonight. So it gets deeper. Well, when I get pulled over and I get a ticket, I can discharge the ticket. If you were speeding, you were speeding. Now, granted, deers don't get tickets for running too fast. But at the same time, do you wear clothes in the public? Yes, you do. It's called social and public laws. We're not saying that those laws don't have validity. Why? Because most of you all listening are wearing clothes. It is a social rule. It is a social law to wear clothes. Don't think you won't go to jail or get a ticket or a fine for not wearing clothes. So what are you going to do with that? Discharge that? And ladies and gentlemen, how are you going to discharge it from jail? We are here to get rid of the myths, the baloney. So, how are you going to discharge a debt when you created the debt? But hold on, you extended the credit and then you created the debt. That makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. We encourage you all to get in front of a securities agent and go ask the securities agent, what type of security or bond, what type of derivative is the birth certificate that's authenticated? What is it? See, you have these, we were going to go there with these guys that sit over the internet, men and women that literally sit over the internet. This is where they're hiding behind the internet. Have you met these guys face to face? Have you shook their hand? Have you seen the documents that state that they discharged a property? Hold on. They didn't discharge a property. We sat in front of them. We've done workshops with them. We shook their hands. They didn't discharge a property. Why? Because they would have been living in it. They would have did what they said they were doing. But it's easy to say what you're doing over the internet and not back it up. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're dealing with trustee training and the trustee workshops, the only people allowed in the room are trustees. So we're not fugazi. We're not frauds. You have to be able to be a trustee in the public or a trustee in the private and maintain that position. Not just come over the internet and say, oh, we're discharging debts. Did they even discharge their cars? No. So what did they do really? Because they're going to show you some paperwork where they have it filed on the UCC. All they did was stop paying the debt. And then they tried to claim the debt, saying, oh, well, they did we need to get the MSO, the manufacturing service order, and all this other stuff. All these things that you're probably never going to get because you didn't buy it fresh off the lot with 0 miles on it. But we're going to have you on some wild goose chase to literally have you trying to find the MSO. For years, people have tried to find the MSO. And yet to no avail. These people are not on the internet running their mouth talking about that they did discharge. Because it was such a large group of people doing it. There would be a few more people out in the public saying, hey, look, this is public record. You can do it too. Why are there a few gurus on the internet saying that they were the only ones that were able to execute it? Where are their pupils? They're not. See, we're aware of how trustees come through trustee training. They ask for privacy and they maintain that. The vault is just an outlet to get rid of as well the public myths and the public buffoonery that you can so-called get rid of a debt through a UCC contract. You just file it on the UCC and then you stop paying the creditor. We're not advising, we're not promoting that. But that's what the message is. You could discharge the debt. Oh yeah, and then you're going to get rid of it. Yep. How many have executed? They maybe have stopped paying the debt. But what happened? Did you show that as a debt obligation fulfilled on the credit report? Did you show that as a debt obligation fulfilled on the UCC? Well, how did you fulfill it? Well, because my name is worth something. Really? The money's not real. Okay, so then what are you counting? Hold on. You discharged the debt, but the money is not real. So what did you discharge if the money's not real? See, ladies and gentlemen, that's called stupidity. The guys that are promoting that are what we call stupid. They read half of the law book. They didn't want to go sit in front of lawyers. Do they promote you go in front of a lawyer? No, they don't tell you to go in front of a commercial business litigation lawyer. They don't share with you to go in front of a securities agent. Why? Because they already know the message that they're talking about is their little world of them trying to learn the law instead of having proper counsel. See, at the vault, we deal with proper counsel. They got trustees. No, they didn't have trustees. They have people contacting the vault that says, oh yeah, well, you're not supposed to have a lawyer stand in front of the judge. Really? Wow. Because the lawyers, they're the dime agents. They're the ones working with the court. So it's a conflict of interest. Okay, we can hear that. They're a part of the bar association. That's called a professional organization. Just like if you're a plumber, they have an association. Just like accountants, they have associations. Okay, but they don't have a license to practice. That's why they're practicing, ladies and gentlemen. You don't need a license. But they are part of a professional code of ethics called the Bar Association. While the gurus tell people, oh no, those people aren't real. Ladies and gentlemen, they're making money just like you. And guess what? They know more about discharge and set off than possibly many of the people on the internet. Why? Because they're securities agents. These are lawyers that go into contract law. So they know how to get copyright infringement laws enforced. Do most people know how to do that? No. And then not only that, if you copyrighted your name, why wouldn't you go talk to a copyright attorney? Because most people aren't trying to protect property. They're trying to enforce some bogus BS information that someone wants to get rich off of other people at their expense, off their ignorance, off of, I'm just coming into this knowledge and I don't want to be taken advantage of by the system. I don't want to be scammed. I think that things aren't real. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Your intuition is sharing with you that things are not possibly correct. But the way people are going about it, to say that they can just abscond from a debt, because it's called absconding, when you don't want to pay it. Hold on. You want to know what it looks like in the public, ladies and gentlemen? Because people think copyrighting your name is so foreign. Ladies and gentlemen, we know people that get student loans and they don't want to pay them either. How many people got student loans and don't feel they have to pay them? So not only did you get this so-called free education from a so-called accredited college that you can literally go around the world, travel in any place, have your college degree acknowledged, and literally pay for food and family, food for your family, shelter for your family, but people try to say there's no such thing as money. That's called the goofball guru theory. It's unfortunate that these people are still able to collect nickels and dimes. These people have went so far as to create online universities. Everybody's got a university now online. So everybody wants the vault to create a university. We don't need to do that. We have a class. It's called Trustee Training. It's a continuing education credit. You don't learn everything from one place. But the so-called gurus, they going to make sure that you get it from them. You're going to get the discharge. You're going to get the set-off knowledge. Sure you are. It's going to help you protect yourself. From what? Ladies and gentlemen, when you step into the private, it's not about you. It is about the higher power. It is about the family, the bloodline, the ancestral pool that we come from. But it's challenging to mix business and personal, right? And what do they got people mixing? Business with personal. When you put a copyright on your name. No, the business was supposed to have a copyright on your name. Why do you think they have keyman insurance? Because you don't put insurance on your name when you work for the family or the company. The company puts insurance on the most key important individual or individuals. So that means they're almost putting asset protection on it. They're putting insurance on the name. Oh, hold on. Go back to the gurus and say, well, there's insurance on my name. Is that an asset to the copyright now? Because insurance is an asset, ladies and gentlemen. Most people end up starting out the copyright with no real tangible asset that's acknowledged by a third party, once again. An appraisal company. The insurance is that third party. They got actuaries. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're dealing with. The misinformation over the internet. And these guys are sitting back. They even want to show you their face. Ladies and gentlemen, we have private workshops. Of course, you're going to see private trustees' faces, but it's in a correct, facilitated environment where people have non-disclosure agreements in place, where people are protecting each other's privacy. But we got guys that want to be FaceTime. They want to be face recognized. When you see them through the airport, you can stop them and take a picture with them. The vault needs none of that. It's private. It's business, not personal. It's family over the personal, ladies and gentlemen. I copyrighted my name, now what? Well, what you can pray and hope is you get your money back from the guru goofball that took it. Not only do you get your money back from the fugazi individuals, you now move into a position of own not to control everything. Go back to them and say, help me be in a position where I'm not owning it, but the family owns it. That's the proper position. But most people may never get to that position. Why? Because they're worn out. They have battle scars. They've been trying to go against the system that they don't know that they don't need to go against. They just need to get in where they fit in. The system is based off a contract. Contract's private. So of course there can be opportunities to be in control. But most people, they didn't move into a position of control when they copyrighted their name. They moved into a thing that literally is something you can Google. It's called the alter ego. That's the scam. That's the sham. It's called the alter ego. You didn't give up control of the name. And you didn't give up ownership. That's what happens when you copyright your name. Now what? You didn't give up ownership. You're still in it. And not only do you have ownership, you have control. You're liable in every sense of the word. This is what we go over in trustee training with our trustees. Because this is a small fraction of managing a family estate is copyrighting the name. That's a small fraction. So we just thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to type any questions into the chat and we will address those questions. You can feel free to as well type in where you're shouting out from. We always appreciate everyone for tuning in live, shouting out where they're from, and as well in the replay that email us Christian@TrustChristian. But once again, this is just the episode to let you all know the questions that we get. And this is how we address them. Point blank, period. It was a waste of time. The family was supposed to do it. Point blank, period. And if you're in a position of ownership, you're liable. We didn't need to have a long-winded episode like the gurus put 2 and 3 and 4 hours. They get you to go through a course. For SPC, you're the secured party creditor. Well, hold on. If you copyrighted the name and the name now holds a debt on it, hold on. What happened? Are you in control of the name? Is it your name? Is it not your name? I mean, we get just so much disinformation. It's crazy. What is an ILIT? We have someone typed into the chat that there is an ILIT or set up for the family. We've already shared that the family. See, this is how you know whether you have the private education or the public. And this is not something you're going to piecemeal. Why? Because clearly people have been given a public education. Even the gurus are sitting over the internet still giving people public disinformation and misinformation. You have to enroll in a private training system. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not the only private training system. There are other high net worth individual conferences that you can go to that talk about these structures, that talk about processes such as holding assets in a proper position. But when you have these gurus over the internet that say you're supposed to hold things in your own name, clearly we already see what position they're coming from. So it is an irrevocable life insurance trust. It's a pretty wordy thing. We hear this message all the time. Once again, you're asked a blanket statement over the internet in a public forum. Once again, are you the grantor? Are you the trustee? And what position did you move into anything? And then when we talk about the irrevocability, did you create the trust? These are the things that you come in a private trustee training, you get the specific answer so you can move forward specifically. But when someone says, hey, I copyrighted my name, I put it inside of an irrevocable life insurance trust. Well, you gave up ownership of the asset, correct? Which is what? The copyright. But did you create the insurance policy? Or did the trust create the insurance policy? Ladies and gentlemen, we can go there. Because when you come into the private trust, Christian doesn't deal with the insurance. We have people that are licensed, once again, like the bar individuals that are saying that they want to be a part of a professional code of conduct. See, insurance, they have a professional code of conduct. That's why you get a license. So no one's ripping you off. Does it happen? That's why they have licenses, so they can come and get you. Because you agreed to do things a certain way. Then the public platform. That's what it's all about. It's being able to get in front of people that are going to be held accountable. Are the gurus over the internet being held accountable? People are afraid to sue these gurus. Why would you be afraid to sue the guru if you got a copyright on your name? You might as well just take the name and create a debt encumbrance upon the fool that sold you something that's not going to even give you any type of credit extension. So at least you can take the copyright and say, hey, look, this person owes my name something. People are afraid to sue the gurus because they got a copyright on their name. Hold on, they have a copyright on their name? And then you're afraid to sue them? Okay, why? That means they have an asset. Not only do they have an asset, why can't you sue them for the asset? It's in their name. Oh no, hold on, let's say it again. You're going to sue them for an asset because it's what? In their name. So how does copyrighting the name benefit you? Well, I was trying to protect it. Wrong. You didn't protect it. You got in more of a position of liability. We're sorry that it didn't work for you. It's not supposed to work for you. But it does work for the family. It does work for the business, not personal. That's the bottom line. Once again, if you have any questions about you copyrighting your name because some guru ripped you off, feel free to type it into the chat. Otherwise, we're going to wrap up the episode. You can get a consultation with the vault, or we recommend you go back to the gurus and say, well, clearly it's supposed to own, not to control everything. We got people coming to the vault say they are in trust, and they don't even know if they created the trust. They just know, hey man, I'm in trusteeship. The trust has ownership, but a name now, the copyright. But hold on, who created it? See, we can ask these thought-provoking questions because we don't need your money at the vault. We hold hard assets. It's business, not personal. You're supposed to have a diversified portfolio on the private side with multiple assets, and your name's not the only one. Does the name even hold any assets? So not only did you copyright the name, does the name hold any assets other than this so-called paper promissory note, a bond? Probably not. Someone says, as a trustee, how do I get a credit extension to my private foundation? Ladies and gentlemen, you go to a lending institution. That's how you get credit. But in our system, and the private trustees know, that's where private banking is facilitated at. Foundations are giving out loans and grants all day. Just like the government just gave people a so-called grant and then they gave the second half of it as a loan. Do you not hear the same type of verbiage? Isn't the so-called United States a so-called nonprofit entity? Aren't they giving away money that they don't have as charity to people and their families? So does your family need charity from the government? But hold on, what are the private foundations on the private side doing? They're lightening the burden of government. They're doing the charitable work for the government. So how does it get extended credit? How does your name get extended credit? How? You create it. The family creates it from the proper position. Bottom line, period. It has hard assets that it can get appraised, can have some type of third party public individual, such as when you deal with houses, they have appraisers. When you deal with gold or silver, they have appraisers. These are people that attach a monetary value to it based off of an appraisal. But hold on, how many people got their copyrighted name appraised? How many people got the birth certificate appraised? They didn't. They just attached some arbitrary value and then you took it to who? Did you take it to an appraiser to get that number evaluated or valuated? Most people don't. They take half the steps. They think they're about to get a free meal ticket over the internet. It doesn't happen that way, ladies and gentlemen. You create the credit from the private. Well, what do you mean? How do we start? Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, you don't deserve to be in trust if you don't have anything to protect. Clearly, it's an entity to protect something, just like a corp is to protect something. Why do they call it a limited liability entity? Clearly, it's to protect something. It limits the liability of the so-called owners. Ask your lawyer. It's to limit the liability. It doesn't mean that you're off the hook, but it does limit the liability from creditors. People trying to come after the assets. The name itself, the assets that are on the book of the company. Next question. What about those guys who are teaching the planet, the quantum syntax grammar? Once again, this is what we call the scamsters, the gurus over the internet. They want to give you these so-called grammar lessons that you weren't taught in public school. Ladies and gentlemen, the only grammar you're not taught in the public is called private education, which not just deals with grammar, it deals with a language. The language is law. Not only is it law, it's finance. It's law and finance, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. The syntax and grammar, it just makes people look like fools. We see people email all the time over with their name spelled backwards, the last name first with a semicolon and all these different dashes and numbers and periods and all this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, how does that make your family money? See, when we're at the vault, we get to the business. How does that make your family money? Bottom line, period. But I'm supposed to discharge debt. Hold on. Discharging doesn't mean you get money. It means you get rid of the debt, supposedly, right? Right. Okay. We'll move on. IRS levies. All lawyers want a $50K retainer to handle my case. Ladies and gentlemen, who created the debt? You sound like somebody that went to school and got a free. So you paid you got a $80,000 loan, $60,000 loan, $100,000 in student loan debts. Did you forget that you got a degree? Right? It's a degree, right? So you got a piece of paper. The piece of paper was supposed to allow people to come out and make money. We already knew that was a joke because when you talk to people that come out, there's no guarantee. So maybe the school did a good sale on getting you in there, but you talk to the people that come out with the result of actually going through the system because it's a system. And guess what?
There was no guarantee. They fell right back into the real world. The same thing entrepreneurs fall into and investors fall into. It's called business, not personal. People think they can abscond from a debt because they went off the belief that there's no money. But somehow they got an asset called a degree. Somehow they got an asset called a house. Somehow they got an asset called a car. Somehow they keep on acquiring debt, which is an asset. Ladies and gentlemen, go look up. There's a thing called corporate debt. Corporations buy debt all the time. You can buy corporate debt in your name as an asset on the books for the company. Hold on, did we pull that cat out the hat? We did. We'll move on. Explain securitizing derivatives regarding funding my private trust foundation. Explain it. Securitizing derivatives. Once again, you go to a securities agent regarding the funding. Ladies and gentlemen, you go to a securities agent. There's different levels of securities. They got securities license agents for many different levels. 7, 6, 8. People's People don't want to know how deep it goes because when they find out that the foundations are the ones that are doing the funding and doing the work, they find out that they got to do some work. And it isn't just get over and feel like they're entitled to some type of free cash flow. It doesn't work that way. Some type of product or service has to be produced. Something. Well, hold on, my family name is worth something. How much? What has the family name produced for the world? Oh no, hold on. It produced debt when you put a lien on it, right? You put a lien on the family name, right? You put a lien on your first name, right? So you created a debt on the name. You didn't create a credit. This is a big revolving circle of stupidity. That's all it is. Once again, the best recommendation is not to be a source of financial advisory to anyone. Is literally to say, go talk to the professionals that are dealing with securities. We're not securities agents at the vault, and neither are the gurus over the internet. But we're not going to disservice you by saying, hey, look, you can just create this so-called contract on a name, and now you can live your life free of charge. Whatever. Christian. Trust Christian in the vault. Own not to control everything. Can do a crypto segment. We did crypto episodes before, but you can always feel free to get more specific. Uh, Trust are playing a big part in crypto, of course, because because crypto is completely contracts, so it's completely in the realm of trust. You see that a bunch of the cryptos traditionally have foundations, even in their structure. When you go to the actual websites of crypto companies, they have a timeline usually of like what they're going to do, because they're technology implementers for a specific thing, a system for a specific industry or sector. And so we see that not only do they have trust in place, which are contracts, they also have foundations in place. A lot of the bigger ones, you can see that they're always held in that position. So not much to talk about. It's something we have talked about before. It is something that we're willing to talk about again. But once again, that's contract. And then once again, you can go on their websites and look for. You can look for those foundations that they're dealing with. These people are set up correctly, which is so beautiful. And it makes you think how these people have this knowledge, because there's more than one coin, and you can just see that there's obviously quite a few people that have that knowledge. And what makes you think that they're not private when people are so excited about crypto and they say that these cryptos are private contracts? It's like, okay, well, clearly they're in the private sector operating already. And so great examples. How many people are going to reach out to those gurus of those companies and say, hey, how did you get your contract trust cryptocurrency exchange that has a foundation growing? But people want to come onto the vault and say, well, how do you fund a foundation? You can email the guys that are on the public side at the cryptocurrencies because they're doing it. They're funding it through securities that are holding land that they introduce a coin or a security through. But once again, we're starting to see the cryptos go to the CBOE, and that's what you're going to continue to see. You're going to see exchanges pop up, and you're going to see crypto keep moving forward. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to reach out to the Vault Christian or Trust Christian. Uh, Keyman Insurance is something you all can Google. A lot of individuals ask that question, but our source is not looking to be the guru. We're just looking to have dynamic thought, creative thought process. thought leadership in the realm of management consulting when it comes to trusteeship, and as well, even on the public side, when you talk about managers for LLCs, C corps, even S corps, because that's what you're dealing with. And you can easily Google what key man insurance is. Dealing with it on the public side, private side, it makes no difference. It's an insurance, it's a contract. You got to go through an insurance agency to even deal with those type of things. And the vault is in great relationship with asset managers such as insurance agent, because insurance is an asset, and we're very clear and aware of that. So no unawareness there. But at the same time, you have a massive opportunity to be aware of what those things are by either listening to the vault, or engaging with the vault and trustee trainer, or just going back and listening to some of the episodes that may have those individuals on the episode. We have featured accountants. Oh, we definitely done that in the private, and as well we featured insurance agents, because not all insurance agents are created equal. Great question in the chat right now. Can a public bond be converted to a private asset? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if a bond is a security and it's something that deals with a secured instrument, you have to talk to a securities agent. We're not going to be that fake person that's telling you you can take a public bond and put it in a private when clearly public and private don't mix. The gurus tell you that. Public and private don't mix. Sure, if they don't mix, then why are you taking a public bond and trying to put it in a private? Why are you still owning something in the public if you're private? If you're going private, why do you own public assets? Why? Because someone can sue you out of the assets. That's clear. If you're in the public, you're subject to lawsuit and taxation because you own it in the public. But the gurus don't want to talk about that. They're a joke. And there's no need for followership. It's time for leadership. The people that listen to the vault, the people that enroll in trustee training, are developing leaders. We develop leaders at the vault. When you go through the vault, it's leadership training. Trustee training is senior leadership training. When you are in trust, you're training the successor trustees, the second and third generation. Ladies and gentlemen, we already sat in a room with high net worth individuals that educated the vault, Trust Christian, and guess what? Their 13-year-old children were sitting in the room. We have people come to trustee training, their 5 and 7 and 9-year-olds sit in the room in trustee training. Why? Because it's a family-oriented environment. How many of these gurus are sitting over the internet holding family-oriented environment trainings? They're not. They're a joke. So you can laugh because they're laughing to the bank with your money. And it's encouraged to pay a securities agent or some type of contract lawyer or business litigation lawyer to help you. Why? Because that's what you're dealing with, contracts. Oh no, you don't want to deal with them because they're on the scam side. Well, what about the guys that you can't get in contact with them? We hear it all, ladies and gentlemen, over at the vault. But that's why we stick to the business. Because it's own nothing, control everything. Take care of your family. Make sure your family's right. It's business, not personal. We've always talked about that. Not owning your name. Being in liability. And we're sorry, but we're not sorry that we had to bust some bubbles. These guys are sitting over the internet selling garbage. They're copywriting their name. When the vault has always talked about own nothing, control everything. Go back and listen to every episode. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. So if you own your name, you're liable. Guess what? Hold on, you had the first lien on your name. How did you have the first lien on your name if you still own it? Ladies and gentlemen, it's business, not personal. Stop being fooled by the cynicism. They're cynics. Be objective. How much money is this making your family? But hold on, the process wasn't to make money. Right. Guess what? The bills keep coming. But there is no money to pay for anything. Ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about it. In the vault, we hold real assets. Whether it's gold, silver, diamonds, collectible cars, collectible art, hard tangible assets such as dirt, sugar, corn. Oh, what about the insurance policies that are on our family members? Oh, really? Those are hard tangible assets in the family estate too as well that we can have listed on the UCC as an asset? Yes. Let go of the cynicism and be open to objectivity. Listen to the vault objectively. That's what we encourage. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Christian that trust Christian, we'll hear from you. Trustee